You know what they say, don't read the comments. Well, I read the comments. Welcome to Scarlett's Don't Read the Comments. I really like reading people's comments and seeing what everybody has to say. And in part, I like to use these comments videos as a way to thank everybody for all the liking and subscribing and YouTube stuff, including the commenting, by providing you with some pictures of my kitty cats. Yes, stay tuned to the very end to see those. So what are we looking at today? We're going to look at a comment that someone left on my second video considering, and frankly laughing at, the worst questions for atheists by this Voice in the Wilderness Ministries. The comment is out of place because that video focused on issues of morality, whereas this comment is about science. But whatevs, why should it be topical? Those questions certainly didn't stay in a single lane. Before I show the comment, I would like to clarify again that atheism is not a belief system, and it does not provide any guidance on anything. It is simply a response to one question, whether or not a God exists. End of. What you do to construct your moral system, or what your politics are, or how you navigate knowledge is entirely separate. Of course, there are lots of atheists who are skeptics and think we should rely on experts, i.e., people who spend the bulk of their life studying a subject, for the most accurate information. These kinds of atheists tend to be science-oriented, but you can be an atheist and think there is some cosmic energy or universal consciousness. You just don't believe in a God. As always, a caveat. I'm not a scientist, so I'm going to give my own imprecise layperson's take on all of this. If you really want to know more, the information is out there. Do your own research responsibly, relying on active researchers and science communicators, and careful of all the pseudo-sciencers out there muddying the waters. Having said that, let's go. So, BarryHay 8935 says there are 4 miracles of atheism. Okay, so if by miracle he means an incredible event that makes us marvel in awe, I still think this is going to be imprecise because there are lots of things that do that. Like, heck, I like looking up at the night sky and that makes me marvel in awe. But I'm going to assume that Barry means an event that cannot be explained by natural processes and requires some supernatural intervention, likely a deity. So what are the 4 miracles? Number 1, something from nothing. Ugh, this old tattered argument, get something new. Number 2, immaterial from material, parens, consciousness. I'm not even sure how to understand this. It's true that we're not 100% sure why we are conscious, but our consciousness is firmly attached to the neural activity of our brains. Number 3, order from chaos. I see this all the time, that the world is all order and it came from an explosion. But for one, the Big Bang was not an explosion, it was an expansion. But number 2, I also see events that produce chaos all the time. You know, natural disasters come to mind, but also human-created activity. And even in the universe, there are collisions and exploding stars, and to me it seems like everything is more an interplay of chaos and order. More on this in a minute. And then number 4, life from non-life. Whittled down to just 3 words, we lose all the subtlety of what's going on in this sentence. Especially if we are talking about origin of life studies, you come away with the impression that something magic had to happen. There was a dead piece of matter and suddenly it became alive. You know, I wonder if Barry has a definition of life. You know, living matter that has the attributes of responsiveness, growth, metabolism, energy transformation, reproduction, those kinds of things. You know, one of the things that I learned in science was that we're not sure where to categorize viruses. They sometimes seem to be alive and they sometimes don't. Anyway, there are several things that are sort of between living and non-living matter. So, I decided to respond to Barry, and this is what I said. I started with, are you even serious here? Because it almost seems like a joke. Number 1, was there ever a nothing, or has something always existed? I mean, this is a good question. Why assume that there was a nothing that became a something? Maybe the something that was always there was the universe, the singularity, or there's a multiverse or something. Like, how did you establish that There was a nothing that became something. Number 2, I said consciousness is not immaterial from material. I mean, it's a process in our brain, but I don't know what you even mean here. But that's not a great definition of consciousness anyway. 3, so you presume chaos is the default state of the universe? Any evidence for that? Or is it the universe is in a constant shifting movement of both? And, by the way, this notion of what is chaotic and what is ordered, from a human point of view, we could differ on what we think that is. And number 4, I said, have you looked up origin of life studies? So, Barry responded to me, and let's see what the answers are. So for number 1, he simply wrote Lawrence Krauss. I know that Krauss has this universe from nothing, but Krauss's nothing is not a usual configuration of nothing, which is no thing. His nothing is this low energy state of the universe. So it's not a nothing. Number 2, hard problem of consciousness. It's like, so what? That we don't have all the answers does not mean that it was a miracle. What we know right now about consciousness is it emerges from natural processes. That's all you need. Is it amazing? Sure, but that doesn't mean it's a miracle and it needs a deity. All right, so for the chaos and order, 3, Big Bang equals chaos. Does it? Is that chaos? A hurricane, chaos. A nuclear bomb, chaos. Is the universe chaotic or ordered? And I love that actually Barry has proved my point here that the universe is an interplay of chaos and order, from a human-centered standpoint. Because a hurricane has disrupted the order, right? It disturbs everything. A nuclear bomb, this is human activity, has disturbed the order, and then we have to put it back in order. The universe is constantly doing that. I don't know that the Big Bang can be considered chaos. It was not an explosion. It was not a hurricane. It was an expansion. So from my point of view, what I see is there are some areas of the universe that seem ordered, again, from like a human point of view, whatever it means to be ordered, and some parts seem chaotic, and they can go into an interchange. They're constantly moving. It's constantly going somewhere. And I don't know why you would need a deity for that or some miracle. And then, so number 4, atoms equals lifeless. Humans/conscious beings equals life. The building block is lifeless. The end product isn't. This is a miracle. Is it? The atoms in our body actually are the biological material. They aren't lifeless atoms or whatever that means. There are active biological processes always going on. So to recap these 4 miracles of atheism as posited by Barry, first of all, no miracle needed. We can explain these through natural processes. 1 and 3 specifically seem to refer to Big Bang cosmology and perhaps also the formation of the Earth. Number 2, consciousness, so the emergence of us as beings that are self-aware. And 4, life from non-life. I thought that this was going to be origin of life, but this is actually that our bodies are made up of lots of different cells, and yet we are alive. And what I basically see here is this is a person who does not understand the science, and instead of learning that science, going out and finding out what the science is, they are trying to make an argument for ignorance. That is, I don't know how this works, so let me slide a deity in there. God must be responsible. My explanation must work because you don't have an explanation. But the fact of the matter is we do have an explanation. We can go to science and look at what science says about these things. The last I would say on this particular topic is the fact that Barry has put these into these little clever sayings might seem like a real gotcha, but it's a very imprecise way of explaining these things, and it might just lead a person to say like, wow, maybe Barry has a point, and who knows what they'll believe after that. At the end of the day, though, none of this has anything to do with atheism. Atheism does not have an opinion on any of these things. Atheists who are interested in these topics can go look at what the science says. And that's as much as I'm going to say on BarryHay 8935. And as promised, we are going to go to the pictures of my kitties. The first one is Carson, interrupted in her nap in her nest. They love this nest. It overlooks the garden. And the second one is Gina, looking over her shoulder. I think that she wants to be a model. Maybe in another life, Gina. Well, that's it for Scarlet's Don't Read the Comments. If you have thoughts on anything Barry said, put them in the comments below, and while you're down there, you can like, subscribe, and do all the YouTube stuff. You're on YouTube, you know what to do, and if you like what I do, you can buy me a coffee. That link is in the description below. Thanks to everybody who has bought me a coffee. I appreciate you very, very much, and and I'll be back soon with another video. See you then.